Welcome to Complete BS, the official podcast of couch coaches everywhere. Not just football. It's every sport that ruins your parlay, wrecks your fantasy week, and still brings you back for more. Buzzer beaters, blown leads, and brackets and flames. Yeah, we're all over it. Unfiltered takes, armchair analysis, and enough bold opinions to fill a playbook. Hosted by Brien Schmauch, sports junkie, the Saban of stats and your official voice of, I could coach better than that. Let's go.
Welcome, Couch Coach Nation. Week 8 is upon us, and it's loaded with great games. We've got 5 ranked versus ranked games and a lot of really interesting matchups. On Friday night, Louisville's at Miami, and at the start of the year, this looked like it might be a big game, but Miami's better than I thought they would be, and Louisville's not as good. Miami's a 13.5-point home favorite, and I expect them to roll the Cards 35-14. We had a wild week on the coaching carousel, and that brings total now to 8 head coaching vacancies, and I'm sure there's more coming. The biggest of the season so far was Penn State, who just 3 weeks ago was ranked number 3 and last year in the playoffs. James Franklin is out, which I think is a mistake, but it's done, so where do you go now? At the top of everybody's list is Curt Cignetti, but I think he's really happy at Indiana. He's making $9 million. There's not going to be a huge pay bump for him. Indiana's got the resources to compete. I don't think he moves, so we got to move on down the list. Matt Rhule has a history with the athletic director and maybe could bring his quarterback with him. Eli Drinkwitz has done really nice things at Missouri and could bring his quarterback back to Penn State. And then there's Al Golden, the Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator, and he's a Penn State alum. I think one of the names to watch out for that I think would be a really good fit is Brian Kelly at LSU. He doesn't have a quarterback to transfer with him, but I think he's a bad fit in the SEC. This guy's a Northern guy through and through. He's won everywhere he's been, and I think this would be a really solid hire for Penn State, and it's a way that you can win the press conference after firing James Franklin. Oregon State fired Trent Bray in year 2. I think they need someone who's got head coaching experience rather than bringing on the next hot coordinator. There are a lot of challenges at Oregon State with the reshifting of the Pac-12 and what it is, so I think a stabilizing force, someone who has been a head coach before, would be the right choice. I look at Montana's Bobby Hauck, Montana State's Brent Vigen, or even Utah State's Bronco Mendenhall. Bronco played at Oregon State, so that could be a draw. But these guys would all give a steady hand and leadership that I think is needed right now at Oregon State. With UAB, the Trent Dilfer experiment is over, and it's something that a lot of people saw coming at any point this season. This is a tough job, and the first call should be to former head coach Bill Clark. He was successful there. He retired due to back problems, but he's only 57 years old. He's had surgery on his back. You got to make that call and see if he wants to get back into coaching, because that would be a natural fit. If he's not interested, you look at SMU offensive coordinator Casey Woods, who has been at UAB under Bill Clark before. And then another name that's maybe a little bit off the radar, but I like for this position, would be TC Taylor from Jackson State. He's from Mississippi. He knows the region. He's currently 23-7 as a head coach at Jackson State. Recruiting that area with less than ideal resources is something that he's had. I think it'd be a good hire. AV, any thoughts on the coaching carousel?
Not a lot to add to what you said. I think that was a pretty good breakdown. I was shocked by James Franklin. They went to, the semifinals of the college football playoffs last year. They beat SMU and Boise State, and then within a field goal of going to the finals. Definitely a disappointing season this year, so I get the frustration there, but that one came out of left field for me. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, let's get to the games, because this is an exciting week. We're going to start off with Ole Miss at Georgia. This is a top 10 matchup, with Georgia looking to get payback from last year's 28-10 loss. Until further notice, I think we need to plan on Trinidad Chambliss as the Rebels quarterback. Maybe Austin Simmons looking at a red shirt this year and not coming back, and we'll take Chambliss all the way. Ole Miss looked awful last week versus Washington State and escaped with a 3-point win, but they did remain undefeated. Georgia and the SEC refs got a win versus Auburn last week to move to 5-1. Georgia's a 7.5-point home favorite, and I think that's a lot of points in this game. game. Georgia doesn't cover spreads really well, and this feels more like a 3 to 4 point game. Georgia's a tough place to play, and I think Ole Miss really lucked out with this game being at 3:30 rather than a night game. What do you got?
So it's a revenge game for Georgia. So Ole Miss hammered them last year. It's on the road in Athens. This is something interesting I thought was this is Trinidad Chambliss' first road start. So he's been the starting quarterback for a while now, but they played 4 home games in a row. That's something to consider. But the biggest problem I have with Ole Miss in this game right now is Ole Miss has given up 157 rush yards per game. Georgia can run the ball. They ran for 227 against Alabama and 200 versus Tennessee. So I think that's a problem for Ole Miss. I think if the game script plays out to where Georgia's not playing from behind and it's a close game, they will lean on that run game and it can become a problem for Ole Miss. So I've got Georgia winning. I agree with you on the point spread. I've got them 28-24.
I'm giving Lane Kiffin the benefit of the doubt that they were looking past Washington State, and it's not true who they really are. I've liked them all year, and I've had questions about Georgia all year. Ole Miss needs to jump on them early. If it's close in the second half, you and I are thinking exactly alike. Georgia will lean on that running game as they did versus Tennessee and Alabama. I've got the exact same score, 28-24, but Ole Miss to win. Tennessee at Alabama, and it's the 3rd Saturday in October. You know it's time for the Vols and the Crimson Tide. Bama's a 7.5 point favorite, and with how these two teams are playing right now, I think it's actually a bit low. Tennessee hasn't won in Tuscaloosa since 2003. Brody Croyle was the quarterback versus Casey Clausen in that game. Ty Simpson for Alabama's playing at an elite level, and since Jam Miller's come back from injury, that offense has been more balanced and really been clicking. Tennessee boasts the SEC passing leader in Joey Aguilar and one of the top wide receivers in the country. However, it's Tennessee's defense that's the concern. They rank 100 in total defense, and they're still without their top 2 corners. Roll Tide, 38-20. AV, am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think to me, Alabama just feels like the better team. They've looked like the better team. Since Tennessee lost to Georgia, they played 3 games. They played UAB at home, Mississippi State away, and Arkansas at home. They've gone 3-0. But during that same time, Alabama's played at Georgia, home against Vandy, and at Mizzou. Also gone 3-0. That's much more impressive. They're more battle-tested. They feel like the better team. They're at home. Tennessee has to outscore everyone. But all that being said, I just feel like Alabama's the better team right now. They're playing with a lot of confidence. I got Alabama 38-31, closer than you have them.
USC at Notre Dame. I'll pick this game a little bit later with Tony Rice. AV, how do you see it?
So USC hasn't won at Notre Dame since 2011. Coming into the season, I didn't expect much from USC, but Jaden Maava, the quarterback, is playing really well. They win this game, and he plays well. He's sneaking his name into the Heisman. Last week, I gave a shout out to Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver there. He's got a national stage to perform on. I think they're going to do well. You know, kind of one of the things with USC is they can't beat the big offensive line teams, right? The big bodies up front. They're just a finesse team, but they handled Michigan last week, and it wasn't close. So I'm going to give the edge to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a really good team as well, and they're playing at home, but it's going to be close in my opinion. I'm going 31-30 Notre Dame.
Nice. Throwback to the Catholics versus Convicts in 1988 that Tony Rice was part of.
I will say that I think the key to this game is turnovers, because Notre Dame's +8 the last 3 games in turnovers, and if USC can take care of the ball, that's what's going to keep them in it. If they start turning it over, it could go into a blowout.
Let's get into the book club. AV, make us some money.
So my first game is going to be Nebraska at Minnesota. I'm taking the home Minnesota Golden Gophers plus the 9.5. The last 3 games, Nebraska's given up 30, 27, and 31. During that time, they've also given up 13 sacks in those 3 games to Rayola. So defense isn't great. Protecting the quarterback isn't great. Minnesota's 4-2, which is, I think, about what we thought they would be. So all those things considered, that's giving up a lot of points to cover 9.5. I think Minnesota easily covers that, to be honest. But I'm going to take the 9.5 in Minnesota. The second game is North Carolina at California. California is -9.5, and I'm going to take Cal and give the points here. It's really just a UNC fade as much as anything. There's rumors of talking about exit strategy there. He looks lost. He made a comment about how many more players there are to coach in college, the volume of players. You see penalties on like special teams units and stuff like that. He just looks lost. The team looks lost. They've lost to 32 to a team that just lost to Kansas State, TCU. They lost it by 25 to UCF, by 28 to Clemson. JKS and that Cal offense is good enough to beat them by 9.5. So I'm laying the points. And then my last game is LSU at Vandy. I'm taking Vandy and giving the 2.5 at home. I think Paiva's playing better than Nussmeier at this point. I think they have the better quarterback. So I think it's going to be a good game. I can't wait to watch it, but I'm going to lay the points, 2.5, taking Vandy at home. And that's the book club.
My bonus pick, I kind of already touched on it. I think the Ole Miss Georgia line is way too high. Ole Miss is getting 7.5. I see it 3 or a 4-point game. I think Ole Miss will actually win outright. Take Ole Miss. Georgia's 2-3 against the spread in their last 5 versus Ole Miss. And I'm just feeling a little bit crazy here with Texas Tech. I'm giving you a second one. Texas Tech is 5-0 against the spread, 6-1 in their last 7 road games. Arizona State, they're 10-1 against the spread in their last 11 at home. So something's got to give. Sam Levitt's not playing for Arizona State. So you kind of got to throw that stat out for Arizona State since he's been their quarterback. Texas Tech, cover, win. There's 2 bonus picks for you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Notre Dame All-American and National Championship quarterback Tony Rice. Welcome back, Couch Coach Nation. I'm excited to have Notre Dame legend Tony Rice join us on Complete BS. Coming out of Woodruff High School in Woodruff, South Carolina, Tony was part of Lou Holtz's first recruiting class that set the tone for future success. Tony took over as a starter after a Week 4 injury to the starter and never looked back. His connection with wide receiver Tim Brown helped propel Brown to the 1987 Heisman Trophy. In the 1988 magical season for the Irish, Tony led Notre Dame to a perfect 12-0 record and in the process beating rival Michigan, Miami in the famed Catholics versus Convicts game, and rival USC in what was a number 1 versus number 2 matchup. Before finishing off the season, he took down number 3 West Virginia and Major Harris in the Fiesta Bowl. In 1989, his senior year, Tony served as team captain for the 12-1 Fighting Irish and finished ranked number 2 in the country. He was 4th in Heisman voting and was named an All-American and won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award given to the top upperclassman quarterback. The consummate leader and winner, Tony finished his career at Notre Dame 31-4 as a starting quarterback and forever remembered as one of the greatest to ever wear the Notre Dame uniform. Tony spent time in the CFL and World League. His dual threat ability was far ahead of his time, and had he been playing right now, I'm confident in saying that he would be a highly drafted choice in the NFL. He paved the way for many of the quarterbacks that you see today on Sundays. He's enjoyed a successful career in the business world and can be found giving back to his community at home and returning to South Bend frequently. Tony, it's an honor to have you on Complete BS.
Thanks for having me. I tell you what, those things you're reading out make me feel so glad and so happy. I was like, whoa, I did all those things, but it took a total team in order to get that done. So I was very happy that you announced that. It's a good time to say it was a pleasure. I'm thankful that I met you and that someone put me in touch with you.
Well, thank you. With recruiting, things have changed so much since you were being recruited. Coming out of South Carolina, was it always Notre Dame, Clemson, South Carolina, or any other schools in the mix that you were looking at?
It goes back to, at that time, I didn't have a say-so. My grandmother raised 4 kids, were not her own, and I was one of the 4. So whatever she said, I did. Clemson was looking at me. South Carolina was looking at me. Minnesota, as far as Coach Holtz was there at Minnesota, and then he ended up going to Notre Dame and took that class along with him. So really, I didn't have a say-so, and you always listen to your elders, and she made the right decision for me at the time.
Starting out as a freshman, you had to sit. What was that like, and how difficult was that year for you?
When you look at it, you've been doing something your whole entire life, and then you have to miss 1 year. And you see your roommates and your teammates out there having a fun time, and you're not able to participate on the football field, just be a regular student. I think that was one of the best things that ever happened for me. because that gave me an opportunity to mingle with the regular students, because we are called student athlete. We're students first, and then we have to go to class, and then we have to live 4 years with them. When I say with them, with everyone as a whole. So I was very happy about the outcome of it. A lot of things happen in life, a lot of things that was out of control for you can't do anything about it. So why harsh on it? Just go ahead and make the best you can and just give back. I did a lot of community service down there while I wasn't playing, because I want to get back by Notre Dame giving me an opportunity to attend school there. It was hard, but there's some things you have to give up.
You played with two of my favorite receivers in college football history in Tim Brown and Rocket Ismail. What made them so special?
Just give them the ball. Find a way to give them the ball, and you just sit around and watch them run. They're very magical. When I say magical, they can make things happen within a minute or two, or it seems like a minute or two, but it's only about a couple seconds. But those guys are hard-nosed football players, and they know how to win the crowd. But those guys are very special players, and I had an opportunity to play with them, and I'm very happy that I did.
I've heard you in some other interviews talk about your connection to Lou Holtz. Talk to me a little bit about Coach Holtz and just that bond that you have with him.
It makes you feel small at first, and he intimidates you like he does still to this day right now when I see him. But he wants to bring out the best in you. And he wants you to think things, even though he's not on the football field, I am, think like he was playing in my position or vice versa. I have so much respect for that little man. I had a plaque that says, "The Lord is my shepherd, but Lou Holtz is my coach." And I stood by there my 4 years, and, it brought up the thing that you give me 4 years of your life, I give you 40 years of my life. And he has came through for all of us who all played for him to do the best thing: love, trust, and commitment. He set the tone for us. He set us to be a better person in the classroom, a better person in the workstation, and a better person in life. Family, trust, love, and commitment. Be very faithful. Be very honest with yourself.
One of the most famous games ever in college football history happened in that famed 1988 season, the Catholics versus Convicts game. What are your memories of that game and Coach Holtz's pregame speech? And you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I do. Yes, that's pretty good. That was a sunny day. Here we are. Sun is out. Pretty day to play football. And you have a powerhouse come in to your stadium, want to take something away from you. And you got to come back and say, hey, no, this is the house that New Rockley built. This is the lady on the dome. We playing for her. And both teams played their butts off. As you know, the outcome of it, and by the little speech that Coach Holtz was giving us before we went out there, that really raised the roof for everyone in that locker room at the time. Even the priest was ready to play that day, because he said, leave Jimmy Johnson ass to me. Know that Coach Holtz is not going to fight, but we're going to fight for him. So that was one of the epic games, one of the best games ever that I've played in. They said the USC game, I ran a 65-yard touchdown run, that it was good. But no, that USC game, it was great. But that Miami game, Catholic versus Convicts, and I think we had more convicts than they had. So, no, we always say that.
So for some of our younger listeners, maybe not as familiar with the triple option that you ran, how would you describe it, and what are you reading as you're coming to the line and then in the play determining, are you going to pitch or keep it?
Well, everything comes as, I don't know what I'm doing until I run the play. So, if that tackle is covered and that guy pinches down in, and the tackle is going to the next level. When I say next level, next person, I'm going to read him with the fullback. He can either play cat and mouse and just guess where we're going to go, or hit the fullback directly at the point that I got the ball in there. Then I'm going to take it out and go to the next level. Vice versa. If I see him just giving me the shoulder like he's going to bounce outside, I'm going to let that fullback take his arm off by running through it and getting the 4 or 5 yards that he's going to get. But either way you look at it, it's a tricky play, and I don't even know until I get up there and run a play and see how it develops.
Notre Dame's got many traditions, probably more so than any other university in the country. What's your favorite Notre Dame tradition?
I think everything as a whole. That Saturday, you see the fans out there cheering for you. You see when you're coming through, the band is playing, which getting you hyped up and get me hyped up right now by thinking about that. Now, I will have the chance to see them again on Saturday. Just the whole atmosphere of Notre Dame. Notre Dame brings a different level to people. It's just like, wow, here I am. I am at the school that really made me, because you're 18-year-old snot-nosed kid coming from high school, going to college, especially Notre Dame, and you get to experience some of the stuff that I experienced. You will pinch yourself a couple times and said, did that really happen? And it did.
I've been to games there before, and I've always said, I don't know how they don't get every single recruit who makes a visit here. It is such a unique environment for college football, from pregame mass to rubbing Rockney's nose to the Irish Guard on the steps of the library beforehand, the march to the stadium. All of the fans were so hospitable, and that doesn't even get into the locker room and play like a champion. So it's just such a unique, beautiful atmosphere for college football.
Yes, it is. It is. And most people don't have the chance to experience anything like that. And I spoke to a fellow last week in Connecticut. It was the first game ever. He was so happy that, hey, my first time at Notre Dame, I'm talking to Tony Rice on the phone, and here I am going to the stadium. He said, thank you, Tony, for making my day. And I'm just glad someone just giving me a call just to talk with me for a little bit, because we all have something to share. All us past players have something to share that people didn't really play in our shoes at the time, and I'll be happy to share with them.
One more question before we get to the game. If Coach Holtz walked into your living room right now, what's the first thing you'd say to him?
How can I help you, Coach? That's it. How can I help you? It's not what I can do for you. How can I help you? I would go ahead and try it, and I would do it. I said, run through that wall. I run through that wall. But he just looks at me one time. He says, "Hey, Tony," it brings back memories when I was 18 or 19 years old when he's talking to me for the very first time. So I'm like a little kid when I come around.
I understand. Well, let's get to the game. USC, Notre Dame, and this rivalry's been played since 1926, and in 1952, the Jeweled Shillelagh was added as an award to the winner. Southern Cal's not won in South Bend since 2011, and with no extension signed to continue the games, we might be looking at the last one for a while. Hopefully the schools can get this done and keep playing. Offensively, CJ Carr for Notre Dame's coming off his best game of his young career versus NC State. He threw for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Love added 86 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. The line opened with Notre Dame as a 7.5-point favorite, but since it's gone up 2 points at 9.5 now, favoring Notre Dame. USC will counter with an explosive passing game with the nation's third leading passer in Jaden Maivia and the nation's number 2 wide receiver in Makai Lemon. Defensively, USC's got safety Bishop Fitzgerald with 5 interceptions, including 2 last week. Versus Michigan, the Notre Dame defense shut down NC State's run game, and they featured the 3rd leading rusher in the country. USC ranks 112th in penalty yards per game. This is going to be a back and forth game. I see it. Defense and turnovers are going to be a factor in this game. Tony, how do you see this game shaking out?
You said something good this while ago that it really resonates, and it really says something about your team. If your team defense don't let them score and the offense doesn't turn the ball over, who wins? The team offense wins, because they can kick a field goal anytime they want to, because our defense not let them score. So it always comes down to the defense and the special teams too. The offense really controlled everything, and everybody wanted to be on offense and play, get the ball in their hand, whatever. But it all goes back to the defense. The defense really, really stands out and really supposed to take helm of the whole game. But it always starts with the defense. Yes. And I'll always say that, being an offensive guy, I love watching our defense go out there, hit him in the head, hit him in the mouth, make him squeal, make him go back home, and let me go ahead and take care of my job.
Well, an interesting or odd stat, however you look at it, the last 4 times a Pope has died, Notre Dame football has won 9 games that year. We did have Pope Francis pass away 6 months ago. Notre Dame's 4-2 right now. What happens the rest of the way? Do they get over? Now we're playing more games than they used to, so I would expect Notre Dame to surpass that 9 win. If they were to win out the regular season, they'd be 10-2. So something interesting, but I really saw that stat and thought, you've got to be joking. This can't be real, but that is out there.
I would say this right here. They do have a chance to go ahead and win, go beyond the 9th game, but we can't take any team lightly like we did against NIU last year. They beat us at home, and then we go out and win all the rest of the game. That cannot happen anymore. Do we have a chance to win the national championship or go for playoff this year? They say we do, they say we don't. But being a team that was 0-2 at the beginning, and we still ranked, and we still play some of the best teams out there, we lost by 3 points, all of them, both of the games. I think we have a pretty good shot at going more than 9 games. But you never know who's going to come to the table. When I say that, USC must be hungry. They want something. They want to come to Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame at their house. And Notre Dame cannot allow that to happen.
If Notre Dame runs the table and finishes the regular season 10-2, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind they will be one of the 12 teams in the playoff. 10-2 Notre Dame will get in the playoff every single year. With teams that are as closely matched as I think Notre Dame and USC are, the game will be about penalties and turnovers. Whoever can avoid them will win. I like the Irish at home, 31-24.
Oh, that was pretty good. BS, I like that. I would say Notre Dame by 7.
Perfect. Well, Tony, thank you for joining us on Complete BS. You can follow Complete BS Pod on X and Instagram. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to Complete BS. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us online. And tell us what you think of this episode. Use hashtag CouchCoachNation. And let's keep the conversation going.